What's up, boys? This season's Fathers of the Future podcast is brought to you by ScottsdalePodcast.com. It's the studio that I'm in right now. Here's the deal. If you have a story, if you have a mission, if you have an interview, if you have something deep and meaningful in your heart that you need to share, that you need to get out, that you need to promote, that you need to fundraise, that you need to build, let ScottsdalePodcast.com be the place that you can come to create, to design, to sit down, to interview another person, to build your personal brand. I'm so excited to be getting started to bring you a new version of the Fathers of the Future podcast, as we are going to be putting out 10 new episodes in the next couple months with video as well as audible. Shout out to my man Martin here at the ScottsdalePodcast.com. Hello and welcome to the Fathers of the Future podcast. I am your host, Luke Kayyem, and today I am joined with my brother, Josh Crawford, and his beautiful daughter, Jade. Welcome to the show, guys.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We've known each other for about 4 years, and although there's a few things I have an idea to talk about, this is going to be a very organic, natural, and authentic conversation, seeing that we have your almost 3-year-old daughter on the show. Her sister Pearl, who is at school today, is 5 years old?
6.
6 years old. Yep. So you have 2 daughters, and you are a single father.
Single father.
Yeah, so let's start there. What has that journey been like? We met 4 years ago. We were introduced as a mutual friend, and I consider you a brother, but I also consider you a student, or at least for the first few years. You've grown, you've expanded. This young girl was not yet born. You were working on your relationship with her mom, and ultimately you are now a single father raising 2 young girls.
Yeah, so again, 4 years ago when it all started, I was really going through the discernment of where I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, and meeting you was kind of the catalyst to get into that. So again, I was going through the discernment with their mother and deciding if it was going to work. And the Crucible was really the thing that kind of started that whole process, and learning about myself and who I was meant to be. So after the Crucible, I wanted to work on things with their mother. We ended up having Jade pretty shortly after that. And then we kind of fell into some old patterns, and then ultimately it didn't work out. But we work well together. We co-parent. I'm a single father, but she's a great deal of help. And I help her as well. So we work well together, and we're making it work.
The catalyst. I almost like that now more than the Crucible. All my military friends out there, even the ones who are in the Marines, always say something about using that word for our experience called the Crucible. And so the catalyst, it was a moment in time for you. How old are you now?
I'm 38.
Okay, so you're 38, you were 34 at the time, and I thought of you at that time as a young dude who still hadn't quite grown up, even though he had a daughter. What I've seen in these last 12 to 24 months, and again, we spent some time working together early on. We've stayed connected. You've been a part of a lot of our experiences afterward. But what I've seen from you in this last 2 years is a level of discipline that I have not seen paralleled or even matched, definitely by myself. And that's something I want to talk about, because so many of the men that we work with, that we speak to, that listen to this podcast, the number one thing that they want, and they have all the tools to get it, it doesn't mean they know how to get it, is that idea about discipline and the habits that they follow, the keystone habits that progress into other positive habits. Your faith is also on another level. And so just kind of guide us through these last couple years. You did everything you could, and it didn't work out in the marriage or the relationship, but your discipline doubled even more, where most men in your position would have changed their focus. They would have dated everyone that they possibly could. So how did that happen for you, and how have you been able to maintain that level of commitment to these priorities and not, be a single guy out 3-4 nights a week?
Yeah, again, going back to the crucible, I mean, I've always had a level of discipline, but, just from the way I was raised. But the crucible, again, why I use that word, the catalyst, is because that was an extremely eye-opening experience for me. I remember going into it with a lot of ego and just I wanted to muscle through it. But I realized very quickly on that wasn't going to be the case.
In the first hour of the beatdown of physical boot camp, in the mud, in the grass, push-up, sit-up, air squat, lunge, blindfolded, we made you drop and do some push-ups. And you said, I could do this all day. That's the kind of ego 30 minutes into a 32-hour course.
Right. I regretted that. But again, that's going into it with that mentality where I'm just going to muscle through this. And, it's just one of those things where I had to learn about myself. And that's why the crucible was just so eye-opening for me, and realizing like, hey, I ain't shit, for lack of a better word. So it's just getting to that point, getting to that place of darkness, and realizing like, hey, no one's coming to save me right now. I need to buckle down and and trust in the process. And that's what I did.
What's up, boys? This week's Fathers of the Future podcast is brought to you by Nobody is Coming to Save You. Sunday, April 27th from 1 to 6 p.m. This is a tactical training preparation course. Not for you, for your wife, for your girlfriend, for your mom, or for your daughter. Ages 13 and up. We will be spending 5 hours teaching, training, educating, and empowering the women of your life on tactical defense and how to shoot, load, and operate a pistol. The importance and value of this is extreme in today's reality, for the simple fact that what you don't know could possibly hurt or kill you. Never become a victim. This is what the entire training course is based off of. If you want to learn more about it, check out the link below. Register your wife, your girlfriend, or your daughter, for Nobody is Coming to Save You on April 27th from 1 to 6 p.m. here in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Getting back to the discipline question is, again, growing up the way I did, discipline was always something that was important in my family. And so having a daughter with Pearl, our first daughter, that was something that changed my life, and especially the way she was born and her birth story. But
natural birth?
Natural birth, right. We delivered her at home with the help of a midwife. And so that was I was able to actually pull my daughter out and give her first breaths and do all of that at home. So I had to learn how to do that. Nobody came and taught me how to do that. I made sure to learn what that meant. And so that took a lot of discipline in and of itself, and then locking in that moment when it's life or death, and life is right here, and it's up to me and the people around to bring that child to life. So locking in that moment. So after Pearl was born, we were going through that rocky time, the postpartum, all of that. So we didn't know if we were going to make it. And then I found you. We had our counseling sessions. Those were really productive. And then going through the crucible as a member, as a student, really, and learning about myself and what it takes to lock in and go to that dark place and push through being uncomfortable, push through that moment of darkness. So that was kind of what led me into the next phase of my life.
And so the next phase, right, that's a 1-day course, right? These last 18 to 24 months, again, heightening that discipline idea to the point where, you're a good looking dude, getting women, probably not a problem, not an issue, especially in your environment. You practice something, and it might be the first time on any podcast that's talked about, at least on this one, semen retention. And for the men that don't know what that is, that means you don't do what you love to do. You don't do that intentionally. Building discipline, not going out and trying to meet as many women as possible and date them and have intimacy with them. Share with these men why and how and ultimately what it did, because if we go back to some of the ancient Chinese principles from thousands and thousands of years ago, they wrote about the way of the samurai having a certain amount of time where they don't intentionally, to build that layer of discipline, to build that immense power, that internal intrinsic power by choice, knowing that they could do that, they'd love to do that, but they're choosing not to.
I think that's the basis of discipline is when there's something that you want to do, like sleep in, and you're not hitting the snooze button. You're getting up when you say you're going to get up. You're getting to that appointment when you say you're going to be there. That's really the basis, is just your dependability on yourself. And a big part of my decision to do that and to live my life in this way is my faith. So my faith. I'm a Catholic, and that's something that's very important is when you're not with someone, you're not married to someone, you're not having sex. And, there's also the element of masturbation, and that's something that I left a long time ago. That's something that hasn't been a part of my life. So I think, just in terms of discipline and making that a part of your life, it, like you said, it builds that level of confidence, that strength, that power within you to get through whatever's in your way. If there's something that you're struggling with, whether it's addictions or it's brokenness or whatever it is, if you're able to control something like that monkey brain mentality where you just need to let loose and get rid of it, I think it's better to lock in and make that decision and stand by your decision and be disciplined enough to be in control of yourself. It's all about self-control.
Well, it's the absolute opposite of what most men who are no longer in a relationship do. And whether it has anything to do with, our environment, being here in Scottsdale and beautiful women everywhere, or the fact that they have been committed or married for so long, it's rare. And so we talk about living a rare life as a father of the future, doing the things that matter most, not just for our life, but for the lives of those we love, and being present, active, and engaged. I have to imagine that your ability to focus has been magnified, and that leads us into like this next career path for you, right? So the discipline, the faith, having...
And not falling into old patterns as well. I mean, that's something that I haven't always been this way. Excuse me. So, I've had the pattern of being with people and hooking up or whatever, and that's something that I'm not willing to do again. So that's that kind of plays into what you're about to talk about.
Well, it's fasting. It's a different kind of fasting.
Exactly.
And when you fast, you have more time to focus on things because you're not eating or doing dishes or sitting down at a restaurant, and so you were able to pivot this focus, energy, and attention into something more meaningful.
Triangulate it to something else.
Not just your girls, but now your career path. And this is where I'm the most proud of seeing your growth, your expansion, and your discipline, because leaning in and having an honorable job where you help people selflessly day in and day out and put your life on the line, you are in the process of becoming a Phoenix Firefighter.
Glory to God. In the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13, he says, Jesus said, "Greater love hath no one than to lay down your life for your friends." And whether that's taking your time and devoting it to other men and when they're broken and maybe they're alcoholics or they struggle with addiction or sex or porn or whatever it is, you're taking your time and you're laying down your life to helping these people grow. And whether that's literally laying down your life and running into a burning building or saving a child or someone who was in a car accident or whatever that is, laying down your life there is no greater love. So that's something that I wanted to pursue. I met a guy at church after church one day, and he said, "What do you do?" We just got to know each other a little bit, and I said, I work at a restaurant. And he says, "Okay." And I said, "Yeah, but I want to transition into something else." And he said, transition into what? And in my mind, I said, I've always wanted to be a firefighter. But I had that doubt that that the enemy really telling me you can't do that. You're not good enough to do that. So I said, I don't know. And he said, well, have you ever thought about the fire department? And I said, it's funny that you said that, because I was just thinking that, and I've always wanted to do that. And he said, look, I'm a retired fire battalion chief. And I'm telling you, just after getting to know you, I've been watching you for months, come to church every single morning with your daughter. You do the rosary, you go to mass. I'm telling you, you're built for it. And I think you should go for it. So that day I went home and did some research. I walked into a local fire station. I sat down with some guys that were really, really nice. They welcomed me into their station and answered some questions. And went home after that. Found an EMT course, signed up, and I, as you know, I'm all in. When I make a decision, I'm all in, and
all in or all out.
That's right.
No in between.
There's no in between. Yeah. So when you want to do something, that's the only way to be. So after that, just went through the whole process, and it's been quite the grueling experience. But I'm here now, and the academy starts soon, and I'm pumped.
I've trained and banged with you a couple times on mountains in the garage gym. Working out, putting in work, that GPP. The lab, yep, doing some MMA with my boy Randy Stanky.
Shout out, Randy.
GPP, General Physical Preparedness, right? Something that we practice. We don't just lift weights and we don't just do gymnastics, but a combination of both makes us extremely versatile and able to do all things. We look like athletes in our training. You were head of the class. Tell us a little bit about that part.
Which class?
That's the thing. You were head of this fire training, your EMT training. You were given the flag per se. You were able to lead everybody else in your physical preparedness in your testing.
In the testing, I was number two. So there was a physician's assistant. She was very smart.
Okay,
yeah, very smart.
Okay.
So she took number one. But yeah,
but your age, which we have to count, right? Most of these guys are in their 20s.
Right.
Yeah.
So, it's funny, Judge Judy, Judge Judy.
Yes.
I heard her say one time, if you don't make it in your 20s, you can make it in your 30s. If you don't make it in your 30s, you can make it in your 40s, and so on. So meaning really, there's no one that limits you but yourself. And when you actually pursue something, you have to be all in. And once you're all in and you believe in yourself and you don't believe in the enemy, right, telling you that you're not good enough, it doesn't matter what age you are. I'm the oldest one in my academy. All these guys, and there's a couple of girls in there, women, and they're in their 20s. They're in their very early 30s, and I'm by far the oldest. But the thing about me is that I'm always going to give it everything I got. I'm going to go until I can't give anymore. So that's just something that I believe in myself, and I pursued it, and nothing's held me back so far.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you probably look bigger, stronger, faster, and leaner than most of those 20-year-olds. I had a guy come over to the house the other day. He owned a garage door company. And he was jocking me. And what I mean by that, no ego attached. This kid was 26 years old. He was telling me how fit I was, how good my body looked, how well in shape I looked, how youthful. I mean, it was to the point where I wasn't intending on handing him a card, but it was just natural. I'm seeing that more often with guys 20 years younger than me. And it gives me not only the positive affirmation what I'm doing is working, but it reminds me why I got to keep doing it, right? We know we can't defy age, but we can push the boundary. We can stay youthful. We can have longevity. We can outperform 20 and 25-year-olds on the mountain, in the Grand Canyon, and in the ring. And so when I first met you, you were naturopathic. You were extremely healthy from your water to your food. Give the guys a little bit about that, and sort of, your parents being in Prescott, very granola, organic.
Sure.
But now raising young girls where there's toxicity everywhere in our food, in our water, in our air, on our phones. You're raising them as naturally with their mom as possible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right out of high school, in my early 20s, actually, I became a holistic health coach. So I went to school for holistic nutrition. That's always been something that's been really important to me. I've always kind of been into health and nutrition. So when I went through down that path, it taught me a lot. And so that's something that I've been on for almost 20 years now. And so when we decided we were going to have a child, or when we were pregnant rather, we decided we were going to do a home birth. And so that was really important. We didn't want to go into a hospital. No, nothing against people who want to go into a hospital. That was just our decision. But I didn't want anybody else telling me how I was going to deliver my child. I didn't want anybody else's hands on my child. And that to this day, I mean, they don't go to the hospital unless it's absolutely necessary. They've never been to a hospital. They've never been vaccinated. Just the way that I want to raise my child is my children is just that I want to make sure that they're not affected by a lot of the things that children are affected by these days, whether it's in their food or vaccines or what have you. But for myself personally, nutrition has always been a huge deal for me, and I think that's what's helped my longevity, and it's been that thing that's helped me get to this point in the academy with the fire department, and just being prepared physically and through the crucibles. Just it's helped me at 38, be at this level that I'm at now.
Well, the proof is in, obviously the visual. You can't see internal medicine, but you see people sick and dying. You see people all the time who have an excuse as to why they can't get in shape, or why they can't make healthy choices and options. Let's go back to discipline for a moment. When you organize all of these things that you're doing on a daily basis, and now you're planning and preparing for this next transition in your life with two young girls, how are you starting to plan the future? Is a relationship anything in existence right now? Is it, hey, I'm doing, water, protein, 6 hours with the girls, an 8-hour shift at the job that I'm still working?
Mm-hmm.
Are we still?
Yep.
We're still collecting cash. Doing that work, right? Which again, will have a shelf life once you go into the academy. But are you starting to plan and build this next phase, this next future vision of yourself being in a firehouse somewhere?
Absolutely. I mean, that's been the whole thing is planning for this, visualizing it and executing what I need to do to get to that. Right. So it's, as anyone who's been interested in the fire department knows, it's quite the process getting hired. So it started again with that EMT course. That was a 2-week course. It was 12 hours a day, 14 days straight, which normally people do in a semester of college. I did in 2 weeks. So once you get through with that, then it's, test, on the Phoenix Fire Department exam. And then once you do that, you get your NREMT. It's a national registry. Once you get through with that, you're doing skills courses at the fire station. You're going and you're practicing your interviews. Then you have an interview, then you have a second interview. And so it's quite the process, and it takes a lot of planning and preparation. But the self-discipline is just, when I say I'm going to wake up at a certain time to study, I'm waking up at that time. When I say I'm going to be somewhere to do a skills course and exercise with those men and women, I'm there at that time. So, if you don't have discipline, you're not going to accomplish much in life, and at least not much worth accomplishing. So going back to like the physical part of it, one thing I wanted to mention is staying prepared, and with the physical fitness and the health and the nutrition and everything like that, the proof really is in the numbers. So when you have a scan from, shout out to our boy Jorge at Universal Healing and Wellness, I did a full body scan, and my metabolic age is in my 20s. So that just goes back to the discipline and taking care of your body and making good decisions for yourself. And, that's the proof right there. So again, get back to planning. this has all played into my overall plan in life. So I am envisioning 25-year career with the fire department, and I'm excited about it.
Awesome. That's life goals, not just short term, not just micro goals, but the long term goals, the legacy goals, as we often talk about. I'll give my first shout out to the future Poodle King. That's me. During COVID, one of the brands that I launched, the .com, was Poodle King, because I want to raise and breed standard poodles in my lifetime. It was a dog I was born into. I've had 5 of them. I inherited my mom's, which became mine, which became my kids. This dog served 3 generations. And so when we talk about those life goals, we have to not just think about them or have a vision for them. We got to put them down on paper. We got to write them down. I brought a couple resources today for the listeners, but also to give to my man Josh here when we're done. Because leaders are readers, and I talk about it all the time. I talk about it on stage when I present to Fortune 50 companies. I dropped out of college. I do not have a college degree. I never let school interfere with my education. One of my favorite quotes of all time by Mark Twain. I'm an active reader, but for 35 years, I didn't read. Most of the material that was given to me in school, grade school, high school, it was not something I wanted to study. And so one of the things we're going to do in these first 10 episodes is when I start to bring some tools, we're going to talk about those tools. I'm not just bringing books that I've read. I'm bringing books right now that I'm not only reading, but that I'm buying and giving away. I spend a lot of Amazon money on buying books for people. This one right here is my number one recommendation on the show, and the one that I'm going to give to you, Josh. 177 Secrets of the World Class by Steve Seibel. I've bought over 50 copies of this since December because it is transformational in the daily reading. And like I tell all my students, like I tell anybody that I work with, don't just read to read. That is rare, right? If you read for 15 minutes a day, that's 1% of the day, you're reading more than 98% of the global population, right? A lot of people may read on their devices, but analog reading. And so I get my guys to not only read at least a page a day, I get them to read a page out loud every day. And so if you're looking to become a better presenter, speaker, salesman, if you're looking to pick up chicks, if you're looking to articulate better, it doesn't matter. You need to learn how to communicate better. And this book, I'm proud to say, will help you enhance that. Not sponsored by any of these authors yet, but a couple of these books right here, including Goals by my man Brian Tracy, is phenomenal for setting and establishing goals, targets, and future outcomes. Look out for an episode with the Poodle King sometime soon. Josh, we're going to move from discipline to character. And so I was honored and privileged to be asked to write you a character letter. And so for those of you listening, discipline will help you get somewhere, but your character is truly who you are. It's the foundation. Most of us were born a certain way and then raised another way, and for whatever reason, have not had the true character of a champion. I am not who I once was. I had a weak character. It was not established. It was not built on a foundation of integrity or positivity or service. And so as you look at your life, as you listen to the men who come on this show, start to ask yourself that question. Is my discipline in alignment with my character, and is my character in alignment with who I must become? You are not the same. When you sit with somebody, when you know them, when you talk to them, when you see them the first time you meet with them, and they're not focused on anything, they're distracted by the birds, the bees, and then you sit with somebody who, even with his 3-year-old daughter, can maintain composure, you've enhanced your character. You've almost gone back in. And now with the firefighter on the horizon for who you're going to become, you can now start to continue to refine that character with all of the base you already have, but now just continue to modify and improve that. What does your character mean to you, and what are some of the values of that character?
I think for me, my character's always been there, but I never had like an older brother or somebody to help me bring that out. And I think, I want to give you a lot of credit because, this whole experience the past 4 years, just knowing you and attending events that you've put on, being a coach after going through the crucible myself and helping individuals, that's been tremendously impactful for me and just my personal growth. So thank you for that. It's allowed me to kind of tap into who I'm meant to be, right? There was a moment in my crucible, I remember shivering in the mud, blindfold on, soaking wet. It's probably like 40 degrees. Who must I become? And that kind of, that and a couple of the songs that we listened to, those really helped me kind of form and frame an idea of who I'm supposed to be. And then you can't hit a target if you can't see it, right? So once you have that framework of who you want to be, then you can work towards it. So it was kind of like, the crucible was like drawing back the arrow. Mm-hmm. And then, once I was out of it and off into the world, and now it's time to make decisions. I released that arrow, and my trajectory is going to who I want to be, and I'm a lifelong learner. I'm never gonna be there. I'm never gonna make it. Marcus Aurelius talks about it in the Daily Stoic, the book that you gave me. Just having that. Just having that element of humility, just knowing that, hey, you're never going to get there, but you can try. You can get there every day a little bit more. So working towards being who you want to be, and tackling obstacles that are in your way, whatever it is. If it's 5 to 6 hours of sleep like I get every night, and still waking up and being there for your daughters and taking them to school and to church and to showing up to interviews and everything like that, and just maintaining that discipline and that dependability on yourself, and then also like with the Fathers of the Future, it's surrounding yourself with men and women that think like you, that want to be better like you, surrounding myself with firefighters. I mean, this is truly such a blessing. It's brought me to tears before. Just on Sunday, I know I had tears, just so grateful for being in this position. And, really it started a year ago. I went through a breakup, and I decided, I was like, that's it. I'm surrendering to God. My plans, Shia LaBeouf said one time in an interview, said, my plans are garbage. And everybody that knows his story knows he's been through a lot, and he's come around in his faith, and I think it's changed him for the better. And just seeing that interview, it's like, my plans are garbage. I don't want to do my plans anymore. I want to do God's plan. And once I did that, that's when that conversation happened after church with that former fire battalion chief. And everything started unfolding for me. And it's like when you're in traffic and there's nothing but green lights and you're just passing, you're like, wow, this is nice. Green light, green light, green light. You're on the right path. That means you're doing what God wills for you. So just surrendering and trusting in the process, and staying humble and disciplined. I mean, it'll get you there, whatever you're pursuing in your life. But again, going back to the crucible, that's kind of where it all started. And I agree. I wasn't, on paper, I was a man, right? I was 34 years old, had a daughter, had a pretty good job. But I was in no way a full grown man.
That pretty good job, as you just reminded me, you were miserable in that pretty good job, right? And so you think about what you stepped out of to get into in the short term to make money, working in the restaurant business, to now a not just profession or career, but a heroic path. And I'm cautious and aware of using that word, obviously, for all the fallen soldiers, our military, police, first responders, the people who step into action each and every single day. But your faith, to me, is what I want to celebrate in inspiring me and seeing real men of God, strength, power, connection, service, fortitude. That didn't exist growing up.
Fortitude is the word. I pray for that every day, multiple times a day, because that is, having that strength from God to pursue and to endure and to to continue going and to continue moving forward, no matter what's in your path. I mean, Jesus Christ was the strongest human being that has ever lived. In terms of just his ability and his passion to be savagely beaten and to move forward. And he was fully human as well. He was fully God and fully man. And he was in the garden. He was crying. He was sweating drops of blood. He was so scared. And he was praying that, this cup pass from him if it was his will. But in the end, he said, but only your will be done, not my will. So again, going back to surrendering to God and his will, that will absolutely always get you there. And you only need to read scripture to find that out. There's been so many prophets that were scared. They were broken. They were sinners. They were all these different things, but they trusted in the Lord. They trusted in the process, and they went forward anyways. And with that fortitude, that strength from God, it'll get us there. Every man, we're all the same. We're all children of God, and He loves us dearly. And so that's something that I believe in. I pray fervently every day, every morning, every night. And so it's just something that without that, I'm nothing. So I fully believe that.
Humility. Shout out to ScottsdalePodcast.com. This season's video episodes are coming to you on location here in Scottsdale. My man Martin behind the camera, behind the sticks, making us look good, making us sound even better. If you're interested in learning more about how you can tell your story, how you can have strong, powerful men on a mission as an interview, check out ScottsdalePodcast.com. All right, Jade, your turn. Do you have anything you'd like to share with your dad, Josh? And can you find that coin for me? That's a gift for your dad. Where is that coin? Hey, look at that. There it is right there. All right. So, Jade, can you give your dad a big hug? Yes. Girl dads, you gotta honor and love them. This is a challenge coin that we give to all of the guys who we see fit for service, fit for duty, who are doing all of the things right. And it simply says that the basis of our code: show up, don't quit, with the Roman numerals from when we first launched the Crucible. On the back, it says something else, and I want you to read this out loud.
Josh, common men with uncommon passions to protect and serve, defend and preserve our family, our life, and freedom.
We're grateful for you, Josh Crawford. Great to see you, brother. Great to meet you, little Jade. Please say hi to your sister for us. If you enjoyed this podcast episode, all we ask in return is that you simply pay it forward. Send it to a dad, send it to a man, a father, a son. Send it to somebody out there who needs to hear this message. And know that the most important and valuable job any man will ever have, if he has children, is that of a father. And you, Josh, are what we call a father of the future. We appreciate you, brother. Check out ScottsdalePodcast.com and reach out to my man Martin to build your podcast now.